My husband forgot his umbrella. As I was walking to the station to pick someone up, in this rainy weather, there was someone who didn't even bother to use an umbrella. What's up with that person? Even from a little distance away, from head to toe, you can tell that the person is soaking wet. The passengers were overwhelmed by its creepy appearance. I can tell that they are walking apart from them. I lowered my umbrella so I don't have to look at it. Just as I was thinking of avoiding it, my eyes caught the familiar face. What? Mom! I couldn't believe it. The person who was like a wet rat was my mother. I held her cold body in my arms. I hurried back home and let her take a bath. Don't you have a headache? Didn't your stomach get cold? I peer into my mother's face with concern. My mother, who had a slightly calmer expression than earlier. Thank you. It's been a while since I've had a warm bath or shower. That felt good. She responds in a slow and relaxed tone. However, I heard something unexpected and I thought it might have been a mishearing. What did you say just now? It's been a while since you've had a warm bath or shower. What do you mean? I couldn't help but ask quickly. Then my mother stumbled over her words and looked down. My name is Cindy and I am 28 years old. I was born in August, which is also known as the month of leaves, so I was named Cindy. I have been married to my husband Robert for 3 years. We met at the workplace. We work for a major housing company. My husband is a designer, which means he is an architect. I am an interior decorator. We had been working with the same client and our relationship has become much closer. Cindy, you have great taste. Your lighting plan was perfect for the space. Our client looked very pleased. Thank you very much. My husband always compliments me. I thought he was a wonderful colleague. As they grew closer, they found themselves in agreement and formed a strong bond. We got married. As we work at the same workplace, we understand each other's workload naturally. Is it a difficult time now? One can infer or deduce from this. Plus, we work together. We both understand each other's job quality and we respect and admire each other. That's why either of us that has time do the housework. But whenever it's done, there was a rule between us to say thank you. Marriage is not based on a calculation of gains and losses. My husband was the one who told me that. That's why we never grow apart and we are still very close. In the future, we will live in a house designed by my husband. With the interior that I coordinate, my goal is to build a house. To achieve that, we are now trying our best to save money. It was raining on that day. I finished my work early. For the first time in a while, I was planning to make a time-consuming dinner. Oh! Did Robert take the umbrella with him? When I opened the fridge, it popped into my head. And I went to the entrance. Oh! It's there! I made sure that a black umbrella was left behind. In this rain, he would end up getting completely soaked. I headed to the station with the umbrella. Because this heavy rain, even though the umbrella is big enough to cover my body, my shoulders get wet in no time. There are puddles everywhere. People are trying to avoid them as they walk. I was also like that, wearing my boots. When I arrived at the station, I got a message from my husband. Looks like it's going to take a little more time. I'm sorry for making you come to pick me up. He sounded sorry on the phone. It's totally fine. Seeing my husband's recent behavior, probably he's taking care of the newcomers thoroughly. I know that. I didn't mind if he didn't come home right away. I'm thinking of going shopping to kill some time. I opened the umbrella in the pouring rain once again. On the way to the supermarket. In this rainy weather, there was someone who didn't even bother to use an umbrella. What's up with that person? Even from a little distance away, from head to toe, you can tell that the person is soaking wet. The passengers were overwhelmed by its creepy appearance. I can tell that they are walking apart from them. I lowered my umbrella so I don't have to look at it. Just as I was thinking of avoiding it, my eyes caught the familiar face. What? Mom! I couldn't believe it. The person who was like a wet rat was my mother. I quickly opened the umbrella I had prepared for my husband. Put it on my mother's head. What's wrong, Mom? I saw my mother in a way I had never seen before. Tears welled up involuntarily. My mother looked at me and she seemed to be relieved. It was like an indescribable expression. Cindy, if you dress like that, you'll catch a cold. I fought back my tears. I put the jacket I was wearing on my mother. I held her cold body in my arms. I hurried back home and let her take a bath. My shoes are all wet and squishy. You can hear the sound of water flowing back and forth. As soon as I get home, I run a hot bath. Encourage her to take a bath. While my mother is taking a bath, I texted my husband. One of my colleagues, he can drop me off near my house. So don't worry about it. When I hear my husband's voice, I feel safe and feel like crying. Are you okay? I'll try to come home as soon as possible. Anyway, stay by your mother's side and support her. My husband is super kind. I have never seen something so shabby before. For me, who came across my mother's figure, his sweetheart saves my heart. As soon as I hung up the phone, my mother has done with taking a bath. Are you okay, Mom? I hand out the hairdryer to her. To her finish drying her hair, handing over the scarf that I prepared. Don't you have a headache? Didn't your stomach get cold? I was worried and peered into her face. My mother, who looked more relaxed than earlier. Thank you. It's been a while since I've had a warm bath or shower. That felt good. She responds in a slow and relaxed tone. However, I heard something unexpected. I thought it might have been a mishearing. What did you say just now? It's been a while since you've had a warm bath or shower. What do you mean? I couldn't help but ask quickly. Then my mother stumbled over her words and looked down. Even if I ask repeatedly, my mother might feel burdened. Let's just make dinner for now. Array the dishes on the table. Just as I was about to start eating, my husband came home. I'm home. I'm sorry that I made you come to the station to pick me up, he said while wiping off the water droplets from his suit. Welcome back. More than usual, my husband noticed my deep tone. Perhaps he sensed my anxious look. Patting on my shoulder, he says I'm home once again. And, good evening, Cindy's mom. Please make yourself at home. He spoke to my mother with a smile. She just gave a slight nod to my husband. Robert's back. Let's have dinner. Stuffed cabbage rolls. I had to change it to a miso stir-fry with ground meat and cabbage, but it can be total dish for a day. Add more ginger than usual to make my mother's body warm. Seems like both of my husband and mother enjoyed it. I felt relieved. After finishing the meal, I made some tea. I placed it in front of my mother and asked her again, "What happened, Mom?" This time, I spoke not quickly, but slowly. After a short pause, my mother, "Really? Is that true?" Her telling the story made my chest tightened and felt painful. My face stiffened with surprise, and intense anger started swirling through my entire body. My husband had the same reaction. My mother lives with my brother and his wife because they bought a newly built apartment near the station. They invited my mother to live together. However, they were living off my mother's financial support, treating her like a maid. They didn't even allow her to take a bath properly, only occasionally letting her use the shower. Even with the shower, they would intentionally turn off the water heater switch, leaving her with only cold water. "What's that? It's terrible." Upon hearing the story, I'm getting so angry that my body is rapidly heating up. Even my husband, who is usually very kind, crossing his arms and furrowing his brow deeply at this moment. "But, Mom, why didn't you tell me?" I hold my mother's bony hand and gently stroke it. She didn't want to inconvenience us or make us worry. That's the reason. Well, that might be true, but I feel disgusted with myself for not noticing my mother's condition. I thought they were living happily as a family of 3, but seeing the expressions of anxiety on both of our faces, my husband, "How about going to talk with them once?" he suggested. "That's a good idea." Agreeing with that idea, on the next day off, we asked our mother to stay at home and went to meet my brother and his wife. I was in a state of readiness. "What were you thinking, treating Mom like that? What's going on in your head?" Even though my husband had told me to stay calm. As soon as I saw my brother, the fuse of the bomb I had inside me was about to ignite. Seeing me like that, my husband next to me placed his hand on my knee, making me feel his warmth. "That's right, this isn't good, not good at all. Calm down, calm down," I told myself, taking a deep breath. "She said she wants to take care of us, so we let her. It's not like we're doing it out of ill intentions," my brother replied insolently, seemingly asking why I was making such a fuss, without any ill intentions. I had to restrain myself from leaning forward and saying, "What?" in response to his words and actions. However, I had my eyes wide open noticeably. "But she can't even take a bath. I think it's strange that she's only allowed to take cold showers." My husband supported me without showing any emotions. I vigorously nodded, as if saying, "That's right. Exactly. Both my wife and I work late. It's only our mother who stays at home. She's the one using the most utilities, so we're just adjusting with the showers. That's all there is to it." Faced with such immature and ridiculous reasoning, I was speechless at one moment. Seeing that, my brother continued, "Just like you and your husband are saving money to build your own house, we're doing the same. What's the difference?" He was trying to convey his own justification. However, my husband spoke as if he had anticipated that response. "Do you know the difference in utility costs between when your mother is at home during the day and uses the shower?" Suddenly, my brother's gaze started darting around, and he became flustered. It was clear that he had no idea about the amount of utility costs. You're saving money without even knowing about that? And you think you're good at saving money? I laughed disdainfully. My brother bit his lower lip and had a frustrated expression. You know, the air conditioner we're using right now, it consumes the most electricity. But your mother hardly uses the air conditioner during the day. My mother sometimes joins the neighborhood volunteer group when they are at work. So all the talk about utility expenses was just baseless accusations. While receiving financial support for the living expenses, they're neglecting my mother. I thought it was terribly malicious. Furthermore, I hit them with another blow. And besides, with that income, you went ahead and took out a loan to buy a condominium near the train station, didn't you? You're relying on Mom's pension and living beyond your means. That's why things have turned out like this. Hitting a sensitive spot, my brother and his wife wore unpleasant expressions as if they were chewing on sand. I was able to say what I wanted to say, but I still can't forgive them. I can't contain my anger towards my brother and his wife. I want to make them suffer. They need to apologize and reflect on how they treated our mother. After returning home, I gather with my husband and involve my mother in a strategy meeting. How about sabotaging the water heater? Or maybe we can send them on a waterfall training retreat under the pretext of a trip. I blurt out various ideas driven by my emotions. I just wanted to make them realize how painful it is to end the day with a cold shower. We continued to ponder for a while, and then suddenly, I've got a great idea. My husband's face brightens up as if a light has been lit in a dark room. We gather around the dining table. When we hear the idea, both my mother and I are amazed. As expected of Robert. Amazing. This way, it's legal, haha. Hearing the plan, I couldn't help but smile, and my mother nodded firmly in agreement. We kept an eye on the weather forecast every day. We read the newspaper and watched TV. This week's rainy front seems promising. And so, we scheduled a day for my mother to temporarily return to my brother and his wife's house. My mother had made up her mind. I can't stay at my daughter's place anymore. It's better to go back to my son's place. With those words, she returned to my brother and his wife's house once again. My brother and his wife accepted my mother without any suspicion. They were relieved that she came back, but the treatment she received was the same as before, unchanged. Finally, today is the day of the operation. As my husband predicted, it has been raining all day from morning till night. Are we ready? We took half a day off and kept watch at our designated location, waiting for my brother and his wife to return. He's arrived at the station now. He's coming down the stairs and heading towards the ticket gate, my husband whispers on the phone. My mother and I wait at the execution site. I hold an open umbrella for my mother until the last moment. Somehow, I'm starting to feel nervous. And my mother feels the same way. It's just for a little while, so do your best. As I pat my mother's back, she responds by clenching both fists as if to say, "Leave it to me." It's almost time. And I hid behind an object. Operation in progress. My mother starts walking slowly in the pouring rain with a deep sense of emotion. In no time, she became completely drenched. She wanders around the vicinity of the apartment in that state. He's here. My brother returns at the perfect timing. Mom, what are you doing here? He looks at my mother in surprise, and his eyes widening. It's to save on water bill for showering, so I'm getting wet like this. She lets out an inappropriate smile, lightly closes her eyes, and looks up as if she's really taking a shower. The residents of the apartment complex look at her with curious eyes. My brother tries to stop her in a panic. Hey, stop! He tries to cover her with his own umbrella, but my mother forcefully pushes him away. The back and forth continues for a while until my brother's wife also returns. Can you help me for a moment? My brother is also wet and already exhausted. The two of them desperately bring the resisting mother inside the apartment building. They notice the curious gaze of the building manager and somehow manage to bring the mother to their own room, hiding her. The two who were carrying the mother are also completely drenched. The entrance quickly became soaked with water dripping from the clothes of the three. I'll run the bath, so get in! Their cheeks twitch as if they have received an electric shock. Even so, the mother remains carefree. I'm fine just as I am since I took a cold shower as usual, she said with a smile that made her brother and his wife even more irritated. Suddenly, the intercom rang and the building manager arrived. He said he saw an unbelievable amount of water, like a slug, extending all the way to her brother and his wife's room. It's nothing. My brother said so, but upon seeing the mother extremely wet, the apartment manager sensed that something was amiss. Bowing, my brother and his wife made a humble apology, but they were severely scolded for causing trouble to other residents. If she keeps doing something like this, from now on, he thought it's better to let her take a proper bath. He started thinking that way. Mom, we get it. We were in the wrong. Speaking in a resigned tone, they urged her to take a bath once again. But Mother turned on her heels. After all, I'm going to go to Cindy's place. I'm done with this. With a carefree expression, she left. The room was a mess, with instant noodles and pre-made dishes scattered everywhere. Looking around the room that exposed their sloppy lifestyle, they keenly felt that they shouldn't treat their mother so poorly. And the two of them hung their heads in the spot. Ah, I feel refreshed. Their panic-stricken faces were quite a sight. A satisfied look on my mother's face. Even if the entrance gets flooded, the materials won't deteriorate, and the same goes for the entrance of the apartment building. As an employee of a housemaker, his ideas are admirable. Mom, you are a real actor. The way you managed the rain was impressive. You're a star, LOL. With the success of our plan, we were all really excited. I was able to give the two of them a stern lesson, which felt good. After that, the couple started arguing over who would do what, poking at each other's unpleasant aspects, and it seemed to strain their marital relationship. I thought it served them right. But if they face each other properly as a couple and can sympathize with each other, various things they couldn't see before would become visible, I believe. Even within a family, we cannot take it for granted. We must always remember to be grateful. I hope a time will come when my brother and his wife understand this. A few years later, our long-awaited dream home. Why?